purpose of the last class was just like, I mean, a bit of a recap on the three like pillars of DJing, like beat matching, harmonic mixing, and cue syncing. So that's the videos that you saw us share in depth, and it's just something we recapped last class, so you didn't miss anything. And the call to action from that one is like shortlist your tracks. So you guys have done that. So today it's about coming up with a sequence. Okay. So before we start, just a really quick refresher. We're building a DJ set, as in each one of you are, to share by September 30th. We'll check in next week and see how we're going. No pressure, just a bit of pressure. And the must-haves, one of them, I've bolded it, is it needs to be arranged like a pro. I considered making a rubric, like school and 7 will have BPM, and I was like, no, fuck that. So, well, actually, I maybe, but the power's gone to my head. So yeah, one of the criteria is like arrange like a pro, and that means, arrange a mix on Ableton with 5 tracks. The mix needs to be warped to the grid at all times in complex pro mode. So that's something we're going to go over today. And during transitions, beat matching and phrasing needs to be correct at all times. So that's just a reminder on the rule of 4 beats in a bar, always start things on a 1. So that's all we're going to focus on today, is making sure that you nail that part of the mix. And after you have a sequence, which is what you'll have by the end of this week, then this is the rest of the stuff that we can cover next week. It's really the polish, okay? How to make things smoother and like nice and like good levels and all that stuff. So you need to come up with a sequence, or I've said some intentions, because no one has like a full 10 track set in their head ready to go. That's not a thing. It either happens when you're DJing, like using Tractor or CDJs or whatever. You play a track, you feel something, you try another track. That's one way of coming up with intentions. Or even digitally, you can mess around on Ableton to try trial and error really different ones. Or even, have you ever heard a song and that voice inside your head goes, I wonder what that song will sound like after this song, or this song will sound before that song, or whatever. So even that is an intention. So that's what I mean by that word there. So yeah, like what we want to do is you want to come up at the end of this class, and well, this week after you follow up, you want to be able to have an idea where you're going to start with this song, then play that song, then that song, right? And even if you're not sure about that, it can even be just maybe just work one track in advance. Like you're going to start with the song, that's all you know. And then from there, you can try this song, or you can try that song. You know what I mean? Like trial and error, but at least you have your first track there, and that's 1 out of 5 tracks done, right? So it's really not that hard. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can do that. So yeah, in terms of like how to come up with the sequence, there's really 2 ways. One is having a database in Tractor. It's free to download. You don't know how to use Tractor. You're not using it to mix tracks. You're literally using it as a database, because what's really neat about it is in columns, it shows you the track name, the artist name, the BPM, which, can you see that arrow? If you click it, it's sortable. So right now it's sorted by descending BPM, or key. So, an interesting takeaway over here is that these 2 tracks next to each other are similar BPM and similar keys. So I would think, ooh, that sounds interesting. I want to try and mix those. 4M and 4D, if you remember the wheel, are harmonically friends, are harmonic with each other. So yeah, if I was mixing one of those, I would, I would immediately know, well, let me just try that other one, because Tractor suggests that they could be interesting together. So that's one way to kind of come up with intentions. If you really don't want to do the whole harmonic mixing thing, and you absolutely don't have to, and you also can't be bothered to download Tractor, that's completely fine. You can just trial and error within Ableton, and I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. Because to start with, you're just going to put together very basic mixes, as in lining up the outro of a song with the intro of another song. And so really, unless it's a very melodic intro or outro, harmonic mixing shouldn't be that important. It just helps make things a little smoother. Cool. So how do you do that? In the last class, I showed you how to put tracks into Tractor, so I'm not going to go over that again. But I mean, if you do have your tracks in Tractor, you can put together a playlist, and then you can click sort, the BPM or the key. This is my current set, so I'm not going to click sort and fuck my order. Just screenshot it just in case. So you can click sort, BPM or key. And then, that's how you can get your tractor as like a bit of a jam pad. But to do it in Ableton, share screen, desktop, there we go, cool. To do in Ableton, I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, so how to build a bit of a database in Ableton. So firstly, open up Live and start a new session. Now, just ignore all of these tracks that I have here. This is like a demo set that I'm going to keep showing you more of, like the more classes we have. But yeah, this is kind of the end result you'll have by the end of this class / this week. So just create an audio track. So to do that, right, it's Command T, and that creates a new audio track, right? Command T. I'm going to write over there database. Okay, just ignore these for now. Just going to hide them for now. Okay, hidden. So database. Now, what I want to do is I want you to drag all of the tracks into individual clips. And this is session view, by the way. So remember, tab to switch between session and arrangement view. You're not going to mix in session view. It's just as a neat row to kind of duplicate what tractor has in that list. That's all. Okay. So let's say I know my tracks. One of them is a remix of Radio Gaga. So I'm by Queen. So I'm going to go to Finder. Can you guys see Finder and stuff, like me dragging and dropping? Yeah. So I drag a track, I bring it in. So now I need to warp the track. So quick refresher, this one's already warped, but imagine that it's not. It would be off. I click on, I click warp. I find the first beat. To do that, I just click play and listen. Can you guys hear tractor? I mean Ableton. And it was very loud, I'm guessing, so I'm gonna turn it down. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. So I can hear the first beat. So how to warp it is you go to the first part of the track, that yellow marker, right click. Set 1.1 is so for example, if it starts with a pad and it doesn't actually start with a beat, and you go later on and find the beat somewhere else, like the first beat, that's when you right click and go set 1.1. But in this case, the 1 is already on the first beat. So you just right click and go warp from here straight. Okay, because it's an electronic track, it's just warp from here straight. So when you do that, what it's done is now it's actually, Shiva, I don't know if you've done warping before, so I'm just going to do a quick recap. These guys have done it previously, but I think a refresh on warping is always good. What it does is it actually snaps the grid of the track to the grid in Ableton, like how the producer made it. You know how every track is like in a grid, it's on 1, 2, 3, 4. So warping actually just like either slows or speeds up the track to match the grid that you have in Ableton. Now, to hear whether it is warped, you can click the metronome on the top left and click play and just listen and hear if it's beat matched. You'll immediately know if it is or it isn't. Good, you got earphones, Arsha. So what you're listening out for is that the metronome clicks at the 1. Cool. Shiva, have you done some warping before? Or is this like a new thing? Nope, it's new. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is really important because in DJing, you know how like you have one track playing and then the other track, you get it to first match the BPM of that first track. I mean, you just hit sync on software, but that's what you're doing. And after, only when it's in the same speed can you play both at the same time. Otherwise, it's going to sound like a train wreck, right? So in Ableton, this is the Ableton version of beat matching. You just warp everything so that it fits to the grid. Now that it's warped, if I speed up the BPM, this is the project BPM on the left. And over here is the original BPM of the track, all right? The segment BPM over here. So now if I speed it up, you hear that. You'll hear that the track follows the BPM of the project, which is really good because if I want to speed it up to match another track, all that stuff, you're not going to have any problems. So really important, after you drag in your first track, find the first beat, right click and click set 1 here if it's not the first beat. I mean, you know what I mean? Like if it starts with a pad and you had to go and hunt for the first beat. But in this case, in most cases, it should start with the kick drum. And then you go right click, warp from here straight. And in most cases, it's done. Now you got to check if it's warped all the way or not, because sometimes it might start to fall. So go later on in the track. The metronome. Good. fucking love that remix. Cool. So yeah, it's beat mashed all the way through. It's all good. And now the most important thing, guys, change the warp mode to complex pro. Okay. Have we lost Shiva? Oh no, he's there. So yeah, so change the warp mode to complex pro. What that does is if you speed up or slow down the song, if you're in beats mode, it'll sound glitchy. It's gonna sound weird. You're gonna be like, Ableton didn't handle it properly. That's because you're not in complex pro mode. Complex pro is made to stretch up and down. That's it. Once you warped it, you click save. Okay. So it seems like quite a process, but really, once you get the hang of it, it's not. So then you do it for your next track. No place, cool. Drag it in, cool. Now that I drag it in, well, I've already warped it, but imagine it's not. Click warp. Cool. First beat. Hang on, let me hear it. Okay. So over here, can you hear that I need to change the 1.1 because can you hear that the metronome sounds kind of nice because it's exactly half a beat off. Can you guys hear that? Do you know what I mean? It needs to be on the beat. It's currently exactly halfway off. That's because Rufus decided to start with this dramatic, and Ableton thought that that sound was the first beat. But obviously with our ears, we can find that the first beat's actually this one over here. Okay, so now that I found the first beat, right click, set 1.1.1 here, right click, warp from here straight, change the mode to complex pro, save. Anyone have any questions on how I did that? Or was that, like, is that doable? Yep, cool, nice. Just gonna do the same thing. So what if it's off? What if I go to the end and it's actually sounding like this? Can you hear that it's a bit late? And even if you see it, you can see that the beat is here and the grid is there. So you just have to click that marker, drag it, double click to staple it in place. Okay, but again, that's only if you have that error. I didn't have that error. I just made that error to kind of show you how to troubleshoot it. And then yeah, do it for the rest of your tracks. I'm not going to do all of them. This is the one last one that I'll do, just so you get the idea. So can I just grab it straight from here? No, I can't. Thank you very much, MacBook. Tunes. Soon. Tunes. There we go. Oh, come on. Grab it, drop it in. Cool. And same thing. It's not warped. I have to click warp. Find the first beat. Let me listen. Yes, obviously that first one. Warp from here straight. Pro. Save. Oh shit! I reversed it. Save. And let me fast forward. And do you even know the feeling you're giving me at all? Sweet, all good, cool. So that's what you got to do first, right? You have to make that database of your tracks. Then when you have, ignore the other stuff. So when you have them over there, you can easily see, okay, what tracks are in my library. You can even double click them to see the original BPM over here. And because you're only going to have, like, let's say out of your 15 tracks, you've decided to cull 5 and you only have 10, you know, you can even do things like manually rearrange them in that ascending order of BPM. So this one's 118, cool. This one's 123. What's this one? 123 as well. That's fine. It's already in ascending order. But you know what I mean? Because so then you just have like that library over there. Sure, it's not going to show you the key. Ableton doesn't do that. I mean, there's ways to do it, but it's not like built in. Like Tractor's a DJ software. It's meant to detect the key. But that's okay. If you don't want to do the whole key thing, you can build a database in Ableton like this. And now that you're here, what do? So you finish this part. Warp all tracks in Ableton. Warp them in complex pro mode. How to do that. I'll put all these instructions in the notes. Okay. So then you begin the arrangement. So as I said, just think one track ahead. Otherwise you'll feel overwhelmed. Like, I don't know what third track should go into fourth track. It doesn't matter if you don't have the first track. So just start with one. So I'm going to do that over here. I've already done it, but I'm going to pretend like I haven't. I'm going to do it again. 1 second. Just making some space. Okay. Don't worry about how I did any of that. You don't need to do that. Okay, so I have an empty arrangement over here. Okay, actually, yeah, let me just start again. Cool. So you have that database track, and I just created a new track, and I'm going to call that track 1. Okay, and then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to be like, I feel like starting with, yeah, that first track. Why? Because I like it, and because it had the slowest BPM, so it gives me some headroom, like some more, you know, I can go a bit faster later on if I want. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to drag it over here. Okay. You've now completed 20% of the task because you have your first track. Okay. So that's great. So let me listen to it now. Well, let me see what the notes say. That's right. Yeah. So firstly, how did I drag it? Just so you guys all know, you just hold, click tab, and hold on to that track you created. Okay. Everyone knows how to do that. Yeah. Sweet. So now that I have the track, I want to make sure that like it starts on the grid, because no point warping it if I'm going to drop the track halfway like this, because then if you hear the metronome on the track, it's again, it's beautifully halfway out, but you get what I mean, right? So you want to make sure it's on the 1, the metronome on. Cool. And then you can turn the metronome off. Like it's warped. You don't have to worry about anything falling out of sync because you've already done that safety check at the end. So now what you do is you drop a marker where there's any big changes. So this is like the hack about DJing, okay? DJ producers have actually produced parts of the track where, cool, after this point, over a period of 32 or 64 bars, I'm going to slowly reduce the elements so that a DJ can mix in the next track over the same 32 or 64 bars, okay? They've literally done that. So all we have to do as DJs, or, you know, I don't know, Ableton arranger DJs, whatever you want to call us, you wanna find that part of the track over here. Okay. So one way to find it is just listen out for big changes. That's easy. And another way to find it is after you find a big change, you can add the numbers 16 or 32 to find where the next big change would occur. So let's have a listen to the second drop over here and you'll see what I mean. Keep a special eye on the numbers up the top, just so you note. So do you notice that that second beat came in exactly at 118? Like it's not a coincidence. It's designed like that. Okay. So you want to add a locator and I'm just going to call it second drop. Okay. You can call it whatever you want. By the way, how I did that is I right click in the timeline up the top and I go add locator. Okay. So this makes it really easy now. If I zoom out, so again, to zoom is that the numbers up there, I get the magnifying glass, click and drag up. I always have that visual marker of where that change is happening. And that's really handy because when I get my next track, so Command T made the next track. Let's say I want to try this one, drag it over here. And let's say I just want to whack it straight on under that big change. I don't know, I'm just going to see how it sounds, right? I can find it really easily. I don't have to like zoom in and find that exact beat and get so lost in it. I do that once, I set the marker, I zoom out, happy days, all right? So before I just whack this second track underneath, let me just hear what's happening. So second drop. I'm just listening through and seeing how busy it is. Do you notice that over there, like there was a change, like it seemed like, again, the end of a 32 or 64 bar frame. Usually because there's that riser that releases a change in element, whatever. I'm just going to say change, okay? So just things to look out for. And I can always check. This is a bit geeky, but if you always want to confirm that your counting is right, 152 is the number there. 118 is the number here. Let me just subtract one from the other. 34, that's awkward. It's usually 32. I'm just going to delete that. We're going to pretend like that didn't happen. Okay. I was hoping for that to be the aha moment. It was a complete fail. I don't know, some tracks, I don't know. Okay, so it seems like, yeah, like it's not too busy. Things are going down over time, all good. Now this is the second track. I'm just going to listen to the intro. Okay, I can hear it's not on. It is on Pro? Yeah, okay, cool. So the vocals took that long to come in. So that's again an opportunity, because like, if that's how long this song takes to end, and this is how long this song takes to come in with vocals, there's a transition opportunity, right? So what I'm going to do for now is just to try and like trial and error, right? I'm just going to take this and drag it straight under the second drop, and I'm just going to see what it sounds like. Obviously, they're both tracks playing full blast at the moment, so it's going to cause distortion. Nothing's EQ'd or any of that. So what I'm going to tell you for now, because I'm not going to show you EQing in this class, is just change your tracks to about -5 in the track volume, okay? And if you're still seeing reds, which means if my master is normal at 0, careful, it's going to get loud where you are. So just turn it down for a second, because it's going to get loud. On the bottom right, you want to make sure there's no red. Okay, so over there, it was okay. In the next class, I'll show you how to like get around that. But yeah, just for now, when you're prepping at home, set both of these to -5 and the master to 0, or a little bit lower if you're seeing red. Especially when two tracks are playing on top of each other, that's going to be especially loud. Now let me just hear it. Let me just click play and see what do these two tracks sound like. They're in sync. Make sure that, you know, I waited for like a significant point of change before I added this one. And I know that vocals come in at some point. Let's just see what it sounds like. Let me fast forward a bit. Hear the first track starting to become a little less present and the second track starting to become a little more present, all on its own. I'm doing nothing. Cool. So it's a simple mix. It's a basic mix, but it's a mix. And I had to do not very much. I just had to kind of find the right time to bring it in. So I'm just going to pause there. Any questions on what happened there, or how I did that?
Bro, one thing.
Yeah.
Just how do you like? I think this is an EQ related question, but like, is there any way to like kind of ramp up the second track as it's coming in, like, or
Absolutely,
is that all
man.
EQ, or is that?
Yeah, it's a mix of volume and EQ. It's something we'll properly go over next class. But what you can do, I was actually, when hearing it, I was dying to like do the same thing rather than just slam it in. So what you can do to just play in the meantime before next class, where next class you're going to lock it in, you're going to make decisions like the low comes in over here, the high goes out of there, all that stuff. But between now and then, you can use this volume fader to still just play. You know what I mean? Don't write any automation. What I mean by automation is right click, show automation, and draw the line, the ramp. Don't do that. We're going to get into that stuff late to next class. And there's a reason why you shouldn't actually automate the volume. There's something else you can automate for the same effect. But we'll talk about that next class. What you can do though, is you can start with this. Now that you've placed it and you know it sounds good, you can start this on 0, play, and then slowly just start to bring it up. See, I can't hear the second track right now, right?
Right, okay.
It's like so quiet. So you can kind of mimic that ramp by just playing. But what you mainly want to find here is there potential for a slick transition? So what I know from this is, yep, like it worked even without me doing anything. It's only going to sound better if I add volume ramps and EQs and all that stuff that I'm going to show you in the next class. So that's the aim of this week, is just find those changes in the track and where the tracks fit in. That's it. Cool?
Cool.
Sick. Okay. Should I do one more? Like maybe where am I going to go from no place? And then we can, what else is there for this one? This one's pretty simple. That's just that. Yeah, it's pretty much do it for the second track and then repeat 3 more times, right? It's after, yeah, and it gets really fun after you get the whole hang of the interface. You can just like try different things, etc. So yeah, this is just instructions on how to do the exact same thing. Drag it into arrangement view, find the big change. Cool. So let's hear the second track and let's find the big change in the outro or the second half of the track, okay? Oh, sorry, actually, while I'm here, before I show you the second track, let me just show you how to automate BPM, because it's something I need to do at this point. And then I'll show you, we'll do that last transition and then we can wrap it up. So in the first track, if I double click it, the original BPM is at 118, okay? And on the top left, my project BPM is at 118, no worries. In the second track, the BPM is 123, but my original BPM is still 118. So I need to build like a BPM ramp so that the BPM slowly goes up, the speed slowly goes up, so that it, so that, I mean, it's not going to sound out of sync or anything. It's just that no place will sound, the second track will start to sound a little bit tired because it's being played really slow. If you want to do it for creative effect, go for it, as long as you know that you're doing it, right? So I'm going to show you how to automate the BPM. Simply just click the BPM up the top, right click, show automation. Now what you'll see is this line at the bottom over here. Can you see this section where my cursor is pointing? You'll see this red line. It's currently lying down right there. And it says mixer song tempo, okay? So this, it's literally like automating volume. It's just that I'm automating the BPM. Now, by default, it will say, it'll look like this, 60 to 200 or something ridiculous like that. So these are minimum and maximum bounds. It's saying your minimum BPM is 60, your maximum BPM is 200. Now, if you listen to your music, it's not going to be that dramatic a range. It might be, I don't know, in this case, let's say 118 to 125, okay? So I'm just going to go, I can even just go a little bit below that and a little bit above that, whatever, 115 to 130. Otherwise, it's really sensitive. Like you move it a little bit and it jumps like 10 BPM. So if you adjust these bounds, it makes it a bit easier. So now I want to start at 118. Okay, so well, firstly, it's just a dotted red line. I just click to make a dot anywhere, and then I can move that dot up or down with my cursor until I find 118. Okay. Now I could move it all the way to the left, but it doesn't matter. It's a flat line. It starts at 118. And maybe by the time this song properly comes in, I want it to be 120. Yeah, by somewhere over there. So when the transition starts, so over here, so again, you see my cursor going down, like it's the chronology now, right? So I click to make another 118 fix over there. It's 118.1. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's like negligible. And then over here, I make another dot and I just literally bring it up to 123. That's it. So now it's going to be really subtle, but subconsciously the energy starts to rise a little. And if you look at the BPM on the top left, can you see it moving on the top? So that's really important, because now if we're going to check out, okay, what's a good transition from the second track to the third track? Well, you want to hear the second track at its original BPM, right? Cool. So now I'm going to repeat that process. I'm going to try and find a significant change, or like the outro of this track, and we'll go from there. By the way, to toggle these red lines on and off, just hit A on your keyboard. Okay, and that'll toggle it on and off if it's getting a bit annoying and you just want the clip. If you don't want the automations, A for automation mode. Cool. So let's listen to what's happening here. So is it loud enough? Like you guys can hear this track pretty well, clearly. All right. So right click over there and say second drop, but it's pretty busy. I'm gonna keep listening. Still busy. I'm basically waiting for a chance to mix in a next track, and an ideal place is where it gets less busy. So the end of all of these extended mixes, or these 7 or 8 minute typical house or deep house or techno tracks that you get, they have an intro and an outro, usually 32 bars, made for just that. Starts to chill out over here. Can you hear that? Compared to okay, so that had vocals, that had a synth, it had drums, and that doesn't have the vocal, it doesn't have that rising synth. So that's a little less busy. I'm gonna drop a marker there. Now, guys, I'm not just picking out random beats. I'm very specifically gravitated to that because can you see that the waveform is thick over here? There's no changes. And then the waveform kind of dips. And then something happens. That's the producer giving you a clue. Hey, DJ, here's where the outro starts. Okay, so I go to that dip. Always, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I count, it's always a 1. Okay, I know I'm like going over that a lot. It's just if you get that point of change wrong, everything else has a knock-on effect from that. So I'm going to call that outro, although there's probably more of an outro, like elements will continue to phase out. So again, if I zoom in, can you see it's thick and then a dip and then another something happening there? So it got even more chilled out over here, like less busy. So I'm gonna just call that, I don't know, outro part 2, whatever. And now, Arsha, don't laugh. This time the math should work. 326 over here minus, oh my God, the pressure. 326 minus 310, 16. There we go. As I said, it'll either be 16, 32, or 64. All the time, except for that fucking shitey remix that put me on the spot. But literally every change. I'm gonna do it again. Final outro. So 342 minus 326. Again, 16. Okay. So this is a pattern that's there in all of this kind of music. So now I have like 3 potential mix out points. Okay. So that's great. Let me get my next track and see where that next track could mix in. So this one, now you must be thinking like the hard part is finding that next track. So that's a trial and error you're just going to have to do at home. To save time, I'm just picking tracks over here that I know go well because of harmonic mixing. So, okay, soon you'll be gone. So let me just quickly listen to it. How does it start? Just check the metronome every now and then. I don't know why, it's a bad habit. And then how long does it take to actually get somewhere? Oh, hang on, there's quite a bit happening. Okay, so the kick comes in over there. Okay, so what you can do, instead of making a marker will stay on the project. So if I move the track, the marker doesn't move. Okay, but there's another thing you can do in the track, which is you can make a cut. So let's say I find a place where something happens. And that's the kick drum coming in. Now, I don't want to make a marker there because like this track is just floating in space at the moment, right? So I want to make a cut. So I just select it and I can go Command E. And that makes a cut. So now, even if I zoom out, you can kind of see that line in your clip. And that's kind of handy because let's say I'm moving this track and I know that in the final outro, they lost the kick drum. Can you guys hear the kick drum? You know what I mean by the kick drum, right? Boom, boom, like kick drum. And I know that over here, they lost the kick drum. Then that's a cool opportunity for me to replace that lost kick drum with the new kick drum I found here. And to do that so easily, I just line up where that line is with the marker. Cool, it's lined up. All right, let's have a listen. Just gonna check BPM. So this track, 123 BPM. Project BPM is 123. Happy days. Let's have a listen. obviously in an ideal world, I would ramp it in rather than just slam it in like I just did. Like, yeah, like what you were saying. Cool. That was, yeah, that worked out fairly well, because we noticed that that kick drum that we lost over here was replaced by the kick drum coming in here, and because everything happens in those bars of 16, as you can see, it's the same. Outro part 2 and final outro have the same distance as the intro of this track before the kick comes in. So it's just Lego building blocks and finding those pieces of Lego and putting them together, and that does half the job for you. Cool. Yeah, sweet. Any questions on like this way of playing with sound and like trying to arrange it? Do you feel like it's something you'd be able to do? Does it look like fun, Arsha, or does it look like homework?
It looks like a lot of fun. I mean, I thought it would be more complicated than this, but I'll see when I do it.
That's good. The hardest thing is the interface, getting used to moving around and zooming out and zooming in, and how did he do that again? So the rest is honestly the theory behind it's not that hard. Match the 16 bars with the other 16 bars, really. Cool. Nice. One more trick that I didn't write in my notes, but I just realized I could probably show you while we're here. I did say in the rules no chopping up audio, but maybe we'll allow loops, okay? Because loops are amazing. So let's say that unfortunately, like, hang on. What makes this transition work is that this big, I don't know, whoosh or whatever you want to call it, comes from the first track, and that's just as the vocals start on the second track. That's what makes it sound smooth. For example, so let's hear it again. Okay, it's because those things happen in order. Now, if this suddenly stopped over here, if the track that you had just, whatever, producer couldn't be fucked to finish off the last 8 bars, right? And then it sounds like this. What you're listening for is the dun 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 dun. Okay, just listen to how that'll randomly stop. It was subtle, but do you feel like it just randomly stopped, like for no reason, and that timing was unexpected? So if that happens, my voice is cracked. If that happens, then you got to find the next, basically 16 bar or dramatic change or whatever, and just continue this loop until that point and then stop it. So then you're stopping it in a logical place at a 16 bar or whatever. So how I can find that place to stop it would be, I mean, I know that it's over here because I can see the kick drum stopped and that synth started. But if that's hard for you to figure out, you can just go to your last main checkpoint, 342, and just keep adding numbers until you get towards the closest 374. Let's see what that looks like. It's very geeky. I don't think anybody does it like this, but maybe let's go 16. 358. There we go. 358. That's exactly what we found, right? So that's another way of finding that magic point. And then you just want to extend the loop till there. Find a nice 8-bar loop. So select wherever you want on the track. Command E to split. I'm just going to solo and listen to just this part. Sweet, that would loop perfectly. So how do I know it loops perfectly? Because it doesn't start with a whoosh or something. If it starts with a whoosh or some kind of sound that's not there later, then when it loops, you'll hear that again, right? For example, yeah, if I was to loop this, it's going to keep happening. Whereas if I loop this, by By the way, I'm just to loop, Command E to make that cut, select the clip, and Command D. I'll put all of these in the notes, right? Command D duplicates. Duplicate is a loop. So now if I listen to this, it's a perfect loop. Cool. And where did I want to do it until? It was until 358, right? The kick drum goes away there. So I can cut the loop there. And then that way, you know, it stops at a logical time. Right? Not sure if I should have gone into loops. I don't know if that was helpful. But that's it. Come up with the first track, trial and error your second track. If it doesn't work, your second track, just try another track. That's it, okay? Repeat it 3 more times and just do intro, outro transitions for now. I'm not gonna be super impressed if you mix out of a breakdown into some crazy, I don't know, tempo change. Like if you have to do the basic one first to then do the awesome, cool out there transitions. How to automate BPM. Everyone understood that? Yeah. Click, right click, show automation. By the way, if your automation ever grays out like this, can you see like my line is gray at the moment, right? You just have to click this button on the top left, re-enable automation. What the fuck? Man, I'm really glitching out today. Oh, there we go. It did it now. That's weird. It wasn't doing it. But anyway, if it grays out like that, click that and it re-enables automation. Why that happens is you've told Ableton that you want to stick to 123. And then I seem to have like accidentally nudged it up. So then Ableton thinks, okay, let me gray out the automation. Let me temporarily disable it because Divi wants to have a jam. I don't know what he's doing. He's changing the BPM. And then whenever Divi wants to go back to that decision he made, you can click re-enable automation and it goes back to, snaps back to life kind of thing. Sweet, automate BPM. And yeah, just a reminder that your beat matching and your phrasing is what you're really looking out for. So counting out for those significant points of change, they're not very hard to find, just intuitively. You just hear the change or find the drop. That's the most significant, easy change to find. And then keep adding 32 or 64 if you're really struggling, right? And avoid distortion. So what I mean is just -5, -5. If you're still seeing red at the bottom, turn it down. That's just the placeholder. And then next class we'll go over like EQs and limiters and how to make your level sound really good. Because you want your mix to all sound like it was the same nice, fairly loud level. You don't want it to go like up and down and the person has to keep turning it up and down. Like that's not very professional. So that's that. Yeah. Fun stuff. So this week you guys have to just get those 15 tracks. Filter them down, doesn't have to be 15. Now that you have the 15, you might have some you're more gravitated towards. So maybe, I don't know, take 10 and bring them into Ableton and warp them. If any of your tracks are acoustic, they'll be hard to warp. Or if you're having really hard time warping something, just try another track or hit me up, okay? And I can see if I can help you out. And then take your first track onto Ableton and yeah, just do what I did in the recording. We'll take it from there. How exciting.
I just realized, bro, with Afrobeat tracks,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time to actually play around with the intro and outro. So it's like, that's pretty short. So we have to just like, change over very fast.
This is a really, really good point actually. So a lot of what I said, especially about 32 and 64 applies to like typical dance music. In hip hop, reggae, R&B, Afrobeat, the kind of Afrobeat that you're talking about, like it, because there's also like Afro house and stuff. It works. It's the same principles. It just works more on 8s and 16s, so shorter format rather than 16s and 32s. Okay, so you'll still find those transition points. Or what you could do like is in some of these Afrobeat tracks, in the middle they have like a part where everything stops and it's just a beat.
Yeah.
You could use that as your outro or like as a mix out point, make a loop of that, cut, loop, and then duplicate that. And that's your outro. And then take your time to mix in whatever else you want.
I start getting impatient by the middle of the track anyway. So even when I'm mixing on Tractor, I try to like mix it from the middle itself. I don't wait till the
I know, bro.
out
I made that
usually.
special call out just for you, bastard. Like that is the more fun thing to do. I agree. That's what I like to do as well.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, I think it's good to it's you just can't get anything as smooth as that intro outro transition because it's designed for mixing. So I want you to like hear and appreciate that first, and it's also easier to learn EQing on that when it's already structured, you know, and then you can apply it to like other stuff.